This is Kampala, Uganda's capital, on a normal day. Unbearable traffic jam, coupled with human congestion and hot weather. Time, money, man-hours are all lost along these hours of waiting for roads to clear. Kampala Capital City Authority approximates that commuters in the capital lose about 24,000 man-hours every day due to traffic jams.
A lot of time is lost in traffic jam. So it was anticipated that the Kampala flyover project would help in decongesting the city as far as the jam is concerned. Actually, not only the city, but I think Kampala metropolitan area. So it does mean that economic activity is going to slow down because people are losing man-hours. There's a lot of man-hours that are lost in traffic.
In an attempt to salvage the menace that is hampering the country's productivity, Japan offered $813,000 for a major infrastructure upgrade, the Kampala flyover. This money from the Japanese government was offered to Uganda to improve road networks within Kampala to help reduce traffic snarl-ups. The loan was committed on the 11th of September 2015. The planned implementation schedule of the project was from September 2015 to December 2020, 64 months in total. The use of these facilities would then start in December 2019, which was defined as the completion date of the project. A year later, there's nothing to show, leaving city dwellers only hoping to see the promised project accomplished. So what happened to the much anticipated road project people living and working in Kampala were excited about? This is Patrick Ochailap, the Deputy Secretary to the Treasury and also the man who led the delegation to negotiate for this loan.
In the negotiation package, there were timelines which were agreed for KCCA to have vacant possession of that place and therefore have the project going on.
For every loan negotiated, it is upon government to play its part and clear right of way. Right of way is easement granted over the land for infrastructure projects. This work would also affect Centenary Park, part of the land that was supposed to be acquired by government to enable the project to commence. Finance Ministry tasked Kampala Capital City Authority, KCCA, to deal with issues of right of way and land compensation. However, the owners of Nalongo Estates, Sarah Chizito and husband Godfrey Nyakana, later refused to surrender the required 4.7 acres of land that UNRA needed for construction of the flyover, leisure park and detention pond for floods on account of possessing a running lease. All the while, time was running out for the project, which meant additional cost to the taxpayer.
And yes, you can say they didn't sleep on their way, but they delayed to clear that issue. So I don't know where to apportion the blame, because there are also quite a number of changes in between the negotiations and the final signing of the contract.
This year in October, following a meeting with the president, Nalongo Estates finally handed over this land, which had taken KCCA and UNRA 3 years to acquire.
When a contractor is given commencement, he must have access to land. Any delay means that he will not work. When he doesn't work, the contractor requires that he charges.
This was in spite of a submission to Parliament by UNRA Executive Director Alan Kajina that government would lose up to $81,000 daily as a fine from the contractor if the Kampala flyover project is not rolled out on time as a result of this land dispute.
$81,000 per day. $81,000 per day. Now, when you translate that, it actually goes beyond 300 million
per day.
Per day. If the equipment is standing idle.
I spoke to the executive director of UNRA, Alan Kajina, and she's disturbed by how much the taxpayer has to part with daily to pay for fines that could have been avoided.
It is a sign of inefficiency in the working together of different government departments, but also of interaction with the communities. And the sequencing of activities towards project construction. Land acquisition, relocation of utilities should take place before the contractor is on site. The only thing stopping it is one, availability of money when we need it, and the disputes along the route.
If government is losing $81,000, approximately 300 million shillings on prolongation costs, this means that in just 1 month, government pays up to 9 billion shillings, and in 1 year, government will have spent about 1 trillion shillings on just fines to the contractor for delayed project commencement. The amount of money government loses in a year is equivalent to the entire annual budget of water and the environment sector. But this is not it all. Government still loses money in paying back loans and their interests on projects whose results have not been realized. All this burden is carried by the taxpayer.
When there are delays, like we've just been discussing, interest kicks in. So that interest is what you pay your taxpayers. This is the money you're paying in taxes. So what then happens is that because we have to pay this interest, by the way, this interest we're paying on the loan and on delayed payment to the contractor. So you're paying two parties. That money could have done another road.
This continues to make Uganda's debt burden heavier. Why is this happening in the face of technocrats who know what to do? Is there due diligence in prior assessment to enable smooth and timely implementation of such projects?
We have learned a bitter lesson from the past. That's why I'm telling you that I think even government and cabinet has pronounced itself on what to do with people who insist on not giving the project a right of way.
So the money for land acquisition is now one program, and whichever project is ready will draw from that program. That has significantly reduced the delays in land acquisition. The second one is to try and acquire land well ahead of signing of the contract and works beginning.
What looks to be a coincidence to many, to experts, this is an organized process by a group of people who want to profiteer from the land compensations.
You can call it moral hazard, where public officials map out, say, a path of a road project, go and buy land, and then after, they also come to claim for compensation. But I think there's also need for government to do extra due diligence to identify who the rightful project affected persons are.
It's not unusual that people also lose money, those who speculate, because the road may actually be realigned. So yes, the short answer is there could be people who speculate and go and buy property, whether they are government or business, it really doesn't matter. I think the important thing is that we should compensate the legitimate landowner.
Experts now advise that the 11th Parliament should prioritize scrutinizing land reforms to save the taxpayer this heavy burden.
The policy makers, if they're interested in development, we should have policies which are going to favor the owner of the land and also favor the government development programs. I think it is striking a balance.
We have claims for prolongation costs on the flyover, which are under assessment. We have claims on the Kampala Northern Bypass. We have claims on Kampala-Entebbe Expressway. So we have claims on many projects, and that's why really, apart from UNRA improving its own efficiency, which we must deal with land acquisition and relocation of utilities. Majorly those two are what is causing the delays in project execution.
With no proper legislation, time overruns and their associated costs, especially for the loan-funded projects, for now, continue to punch holes in the pockets of the taxpayers.
We need to just make sure that within the works and transport and other sectors that are implementing public projects, their levels of efficiency are improved so that we see tangible results that are going to improve the quality of service delivery, and we shall realize value for money. That's why we borrow these loans to implement these heavy projects.
With no clear timeline laid out for the completion of this multi-million shilling city project, Ugandans can only keep guessing when it will be rolled out to them, with hope that they will not have been choked by the debt it is carrying along with it. Kanarum Gume, NBS Live at 9.